Welcome back to Melody Loves Death Metal. Listening to Occult today. Finally picked up their new album. Finally found it in a distro here in the US. Everlasting Spew took a little bit of a while to get their new album out to people. So that should be coming in hopefully this week. But yeah, no Black Metal Monday today. Simply just because I haven't really gotten anything new in within the last time I recorded, and because I've been listening to death metal again. You know what happens. But I do have a couple of other black metal things I will be recording, so don't worry, it's not gone. This week it's not there. But today I do have 3 cassette tapes that I wanted to talk about that I recently got in, that I've been listening to the last several weeks, and I figured today is a good day to talk about them. And I'm going to actually preview one song each from every single cassette tape so you can actually hear them. I've been really enjoying doing the playlist videos that I've uploaded. I've uploaded 2 now. Halloween, I did a Halloween playlist, and then the week before that was on Sunday. I did a playlist of just some newer underground death metal tracks. This is still really loud in my ear. And yeah, so I'm going to start doing that now. And, you know, they don't get the most views on my channel, but that's not the point of them. It's just for people to jam out to some music, get familiar with bands that I talk about on here. If you like what you hear, click the link in my description and go buy their shit. So yeah, but somebody asked me recently, am I going to live stream them, similar to like what Joaba and Necron do, or other YouTubers do? And I don't know, maybe someday, but right now I don't have the time during the week or on the weekends to like sit in front of my computer for like 2 hours and stream and talk about the music I'm playing and stuff like that. I know a lot of people, and this is probably one of the most requested things that people ask me to do, is to do something similar like that. But for now, I'm just making playlist videos. They're like an hour max. I don't go any past that because people, I don't feel like, will pay attention. It goes past an hour, but yeah. But today I'm going to do a little bit of a different style of video. I'll talk about the cassette tape, I'll show it off, and then I'm actually going to play a full song for you to actually hear it in full and make judgments on whether or not if you like it or not. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to talk about the first thing that I got about 2 weeks ago now. Hello? Be quiet, Peter. This was actually a suggestion given to me by somebody on Instagram. I did like a Q&A in my Instagram stories a while back. It was like, what's everybody spinning today? And somebody said, Temora demo. And I looked it up. I'm like, I don't know what that is. And I immediately loved it. And immediately went and scoured to find out where I could buy this. So this is a band that I've never heard of. And again, I didn't know anything about them, but they're from Czechia. They're a bunch of younger high school kids that made this demo. And yeah, so it's out on Filth Junkies Records. And they do still have copies on their site. But they're based out of Czechia, and to buy like one cassette tape and shipping and stuff like that, I didn't want to deal with it. But guess who had it on his distro? Of course, Ben from Iron Fortress. I shot a message to him and was like, hey, have you heard this yet? Because it's phenomenal. He's like, yeah, actually, I've got copies of it. And he still does. I literally checked before I started recording. So if you like what you hear, go grab it from Ben's distro or from Filth Junkies. But again, this is just a phenomenal demo with like a serious statement, really. It's raw, forceful death metal. No gimmicks, nothing like that. It really taps into the early 90s underground death metal sound. Like, you would think that that's what you're listening to. But yeah, it's got... They mimic the mood, and they're channeling the early underground 90s death metal. And it's so heavy, and it's got like power, and the drums are phenomenal, and it's got this aggression, and the vocals are a little bit deeper in the mix. It's definitely got that little bit more of a lo-fi demo sound, but not too terrible. But it's got a very like grim sounding old school death metal sound, bleak, it's thick, it's oppressive, it's got great riffs. It goes back and forth between like guttural vocals and a bit more higher pitchy screaming vocals. Just the whole thing is phenomenal. I was blown away when I heard this. I couldn't believe I'd never heard of this band. So thank you to my Instagram follower that suggested this with me. I don't remember who it was, because I did that Q&A like all day, and was checking out all of those releases that people were sending me. But here is the cassette tape. It's a nice like print. This is actually printed on. It's not a sticker. Same on both sides. It's a quick listen. You know, it's 5 tracks. They do a cover as the 5th track right there. Limited to 100 copies. I've got number 54 here. Here's the front, and then here is the back of the lyrics. The lyrics are all in a different language. So yeah, I can't understand anything they're saying, but the bass on here is phenomenal. Yeah, like you can just... It's got a really filthy style to it. You really feel the bass in your chest too, and sometimes, you know, bass isn't generally like the first thing that I pay attention to. I'm much more of a guitar, drum enthusiast, I guess you could say. Sorry, bass players. The bass is phenomenal, though. I always make sure to call it out, and I really enjoy it on here. Like, you can definitely hear it. Like I said, you can kind of feel it in your chest when you're listening to this really loud. Like, you just feel like pummeling of it in like the tempo that they do on here. But yeah, it's simply phenomenal. Again, I was blown away. This is probably going to be my favorite demo of the year. I always do like a demo and EP's year-end list. And I was so excited when I saw that Ben had this. I did not expect him to say, yeah, I have it on my distro. But I'm not surprised by any means. I think he has a couple of other Filth Junkie records releases on there. I need to check out the label a little bit more and see what else is on there, because apparently they've got a good ear for this style of music. But like I said, there's not like an overwhelming like technicality to it. Again, it's really no frills, but they really channeled that early 90s death metal like perfectly. So I was just really, it made me happy when I listened to that. People think it's weird when I say shit like that, but whatever. So yeah, Temora, I believe is how you say that name, demo. It's on Bandcamp. You can listen to it on Bandcamp, and you can buy the digital files. And like I said, I'll put a link in the description where you can buy it on Ben's distro for Iron Fortress, and then for Filth Junkie's website. I checked today, and they still had copies over there too. So if you like what you hear in this track that I'm about to play, go buy this, man. Support these kids. Like, this is just awesome. Again, it doesn't really matter that they're kids, but I just thought that was an interesting fact that I would call out, is that they were youngins doing it right, paying homage to, you know, what we all love about death metal. So yeah, check it out. Great stuff. The next cassette tape that I got, and I've actually had this for a couple weeks now, several weeks now, close to a month, is a split between Defense Wound and Writhing Shadows that came out on Gurgling Gore. This is incredibly dark, don't worry. So both bands, funny enough, are the same band members. So Writhing Shadows and Defense Wound are the same exact band members, every single one of them. So it's two different bands with two different styles of music, but they're all the same member. I didn't realize that when I first listened to this and bought it until after I started like researching a little bit more about Defense Wound, because I was not familiar with that band at all. Nice, vibrant orange cassette tape here, and then here is the J card. This is still available on Gurgling Gore's website, so if you like what you hear that I'm about to play, definitely go snag a copy. So here is the J card. The artwork is done by, it's there, it's in my head, Ditchwitch666 on Instagram, or Gory Corey Torn Limbs if you're familiar. He also did Caustic Phlegm's new album cover and a bunch of other stuff. He's done a ton of other artwork in the scene. So yeah, pretty cool artwork here. So yeah, like I said, it's the same members of both bands. So obviously both are based out of Alabama. Defense Wound, like I said, is new. So it's like a new project that they're doing. They had a full length that came out independently back in 2023 called Hymns of War. I've never heard it, but I'm going to go check it out. And they have 3 tracks on here that start out the split. And then Writhing Shadows also has 3 tracks on here, and we'll talk about them in a minute. But Defense Wound is more of a like beat down death metal, has more of that modern sound. The production is phenomenal, pretty clean production. But yeah, it's got that more of that beat down style of death metal that all the like newer bands kind of have. I'm trying to think. It says on there that it's for fans of people like Benediction, Bolt Thrower, Frozen Soul, Grave. I would say probably a little bit more Frozen Soul, I guess, maybe. I don't know. It's hard to distinguish like who they remind me of. And that's simply just because that modern like beat down style, almost borderline sounding tiny bit of hardcore, maybe that's not the right term, but it gets pretty close, is not necessarily my favorite style of death metal. I don't always get into it, but I did enjoy these 3 tracks. So I'll play a track from both bands on here after I get done talking about this, and you can determine. But what I will be honest with you, the reason why I bought this split is for Writhing Shadows. Writhing Shadows is an awesome band. Very much like war is their theme. They had a full length that came out back in 2022. It was self-titled. That also came out on Gurgling Gore. They also played live on Ken's Death Metal Crypt when Ken had like a Crypt Fest or whatever it was called back then. I think it was like 2021, around that time. And just those tracks on here are, they're so good, man. And if this is any indication of what they're going to start doing going forward, I'm going to be super pumped. I was a big fan of their self-titled that came out. I'm pretty sure I showed that off too when it did. But they pummel the fuck out of you. It's got more of a bleaker sound, that's for sure. More of a rawer style of production. It's not as clean of a production as like the Defense Wound side. They definitely are 2 different bands. It's funny because it's the same members, but they are definitely 2 completely different bands. It's got Writhing Shadows has a much more darker sound to them. Like I said, not as clean production. And the first track is so fucking good. I mean, all 3 of them are good, but the first track is so good. It starts out with like a little synthy intro, and it kind of builds up, and then it just comes and just destroys you. And the song is so good, and it's got awesome, like really catchy riffs on here. And like I just found myself like doing the like this like stank face when I was listening to it. So that's ultimately the reason why I bought this split. I think Defense Wound needs to grow on me just a little bit more, but it's not bad. But I think it's funny, kind of like their alter egos almost, in a sense. But yeah, a really cool split. I played one of the Writhing Shadows songs on my first ever playlist stream that I did last Sunday because, again, I just love those tracks. So, yeah, I'm going to play one track from each band coming up. But, yeah, check it out, Gurgling Gore. They still have copies. And then finally, the last cassette tape that I wanted to talk about was a band that I am super pumped about their new album coming out next week, I should say, so November 14th. And this is essentially a precursor to that. This is Degraved, Premonition of Blasphemy. This is a demo rehearsal, so it's a rehearsal, but they're calling it a demo that came out at the beginning of the year, so in January. And it's 3 tracks from their upcoming new release that's coming out next week, Spectral Realm of Ruin on Meisako Unoho and Dark Descent Records. Now, Degraved is a band out of Seattle. They have 2 other releases that I was a huge fan of. We have Exhumed Remnants that came out on Gurgling Gore and Chaos Records. This was essentially their first release, the first time I'd ever heard them. And this style is very much in the vein of the old school death metal. He has more of the vocal styles of like whispered almost, and very murky death metal. And then they came out with this EP like almost 2 years now. Was it last year? Whispered Morbidity. This came out also on Gurgling Gore, and then Meisako Unoho did vinyl records for it. And the style of vocals definitely changed to have more of the like deeper guttural style. And I definitely prefer this to it. I was a huge fan of this obviously when it first came out, but I definitely really enjoyed this EP when it came out. And now they have their first ever full-length album coming out next week, which I actually have not listened to it yet. I've gotten the promo for it, and I've been kind of like borderline, like I want to hear it and I want to listen to it, but also love when I get the release and I'm able to listen to it then physically. But these are 3 tracks that are going to be on it. Obviously, a much cleaner sound. It won't be that rehearsal, like lower-fi demo sound. And the 3 tracks on here are Pariah of Death and Darkness, which is the first track on the new album. The second one is Sulfurically Embalmed, which is the second track on the new album. And then Vacuous State, which I think is the final track on the new album. So pretty cool that they did like a little rehearsal. This came out on Grip of Darkness, and I completely missed out on this when it was first released. I'm pretty sure it sold out, but guess where I found it? Iron Fortress Records distro. Of course he had it. A nice little red sticker there on both sides. It repeats on both sides. And then just a very simple J card of, there we go, this artwork here. It's a little bit dark. And then on this side. So very much like a demo style of cassette tape. And that's what it sounds like. It's got that little like lower-fi, like live rehearsal sound. But the tracks are really good. I'm super pumped about this new album now after hearing this. It's definitely got, like, it's bludgeoning death metal. Like, that's the best way to explain it. It's ugly. It's relentless. It's just soaked in filth. Their last EP definitely had a bit of that Swedish style of death metal influences in it. Not, like, super soaked in it, but, like, you can definitely hear a little bit of that. But it's just nothing overcomplicated at all. It's no frills. So yeah, this is a really good rehearsal. And generally, like rehearsals and stuff like that, I'm not a huge fan of when bands release them, because they don't always like sound the best, or I rarely listen to them if I ever get them. But this one I've listened to a ton because I've really enjoyed it. So yeah, it says rehearsal of 3 tracks from the upcoming debut full length. It says summer 2025 on here. That obviously is not the case. It got pushed back there. But yeah, awesome stuff. The cover art is done by Jay Faces in the Sink. I need to look up who that is, but you can just go ahead and pause it there. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. I'm glad that I was able to get this off of the Iron Fortress distro. Pretty cool for the collection. And I'm super pumped for their new album. I have it on pre-order, so I can't wait to get it. So yeah, Degraved, Premonition of Blasphemy. That's it. That's all that I had to talk about today. Some nice underground death metal music. Let me know if you like what you heard, if you ended up going and buying anything. And yeah, that's all that I have. I've got a couple of other cool things I'm recording this week, and again, the playlist will happen again on Sunday. It takes forever to edit, man, and like to decide what I want to play. Somebody asked me if I'm ever going to just pull up a streaming service like like make Spotify playlists. I don't have Spotify. The only streaming service I have is Apple Music, and that's because it comes with our cell phone like plan. It's just included with it. So, but for the most part, I just use Bandcamp. Like if you go and find me on Bandcamp, you'll see like how much I've bought on there. Like Bandcamp is really like mostly where I stream my music. So no, I don't ever plan like making like Apple Music playlists or Spotify playlists or anything like that. I know like a lot of other YouTubers and stuff like that do that and they share it. So this is just my playlist of the YouTube videos is pretty much how I've decided to do that. So yeah, so that'll be up on Sunday, and then I have a couple other things I'm going to be promoting this week. But one thing I did want to mention is, and this was mentioned on Shredbeard's release party for Warhammer 666's new EP. In January, I will be in Houston. That's right, I have my flight and my hotel reserved for it. There's going to be like a Joabba Fest. I don't know if that's like the official name of it, but in Houston, where Joabba's band ETD is playing, Mordant Wren's going to be there, Hexea, Insecticide. I'm not too familiar with who that other band is, but this is like the flyer for it. So if you're going to be in the Houston area in January and you want to meet up and say, hey, I'll be with the Fomorian crew, so all of them hanging out, doing some fun stuff, probably going to record some content while I'm there, and the band's playing and stuff like that, so I'm super, super pumped about it. So that's all that I have. I will see you guys in the next one.